Two women killed in Balangoda after tree collapses on them at an estate. Number of COVID-19 patients in Minuwangoda cluster reaches 1,591. Repatriation of Sri Lankans from the Middle East to begin next month. 28 wild elephants storm into a village in Bakumuna. Hello there and welcome to Lunchtime News here on TV1. You're joining me, David Paldano. Now on to your headline making stories this afternoon. Two women have died after a tree uprooted by gale winds during a heavy rainfall fell onto them.
The injured were taken to the hospital in a three-wheeler on a dilapidated road in the Walalawatha area in Balangoda. The tree had fallen on a group of people who were plucking tea leaves in an estate. 3 people were seriously injured and 2 women out of the 3 died on the way to the hospital. Meanwhile, 3 houses in Hatton Dikkoya Batakal estate were severely damaged due to a tree falling onto them. Our correspondent said that a young woman was injured from the incident. She was admitted to the Dikkoya base hospital. 2 people were injured when an earth embankment collapsed on 2 shops in Hatton. It occurred at around 5 in the morning and 2 employees who were sleeping in one of the shops were injured. Several power lines have also been damaged due to strong winds blowing across the Hatton area.
The Meteorology Department has issued a warning on strong winds and rough seas in the country.
The Met Department has said that wind speed in the shallow and deep sea areas from Matara to Potuvil via Hambantota may range between 60 and 70 km per hour today. Issuing an advisory, the department warned fishermen that it will be dangerous to venture into these areas until next morning. According to the Met Department, wind speed in the sea areas from Negombo to Muletevu via Puttalam, Mana and Kankasanturai may range between 50 and 60 km per hour.
The Sri Lankan Court of Appeal ordered the Central Environment Authority to send all 242 freight containers with garbage which were shipped to Sri Lanka back to the United Kingdom. The Court of Appeal announced the verdict, concluding the examination of the petition filed by the Centre for Environmental Justice. The matter was examined by Court of Appeal President HMD Nawaz and Justice Sobhita Rajakaruna, and the bench ordered for the legal action to be instituted against all establishments involved in shipping those freight containers to Sri Lanka. Haley's Free Trade Zone Limited, ETL Colombo Private Limited, the Director General of the Sri Lanka Ports Authority, the Board of Investment of Sri Lanka, Central Environmental Authority and the Attorney General were named as respondents in the matter. Now in your COVID update making headlines, the number of COVID-19 cases in the Minuwangoda cluster has reached 1,591 within 10 days. This was following the detection of second and third generation contacts. Sri Lanka's COVID-19 tally has risen up to 5,038 since the virus started spreading in the country in March. 194 patients were identified yesterday. According to the Department of Government Information, 80 of them tested positive while they were at quarantine centres. The remaining 114 patients had come into contact with the infected individuals in the Minuwangoda cluster. The Health Ministry said that 1,697 COVID-19 patients are currently receiving treatment, while 3,328 have been discharged from hospitals following recovery. Army Commander Lieutenant General Shavendra Silva said that the general public must exercise caution when using public transport due to the current situation. He called on passengers to record the number plate of the vehicles that they use to travel during this period. The Army Commander pointed out large-scale establishments, including garment factories, have been informed to conduct PCR tests on their employees on a weekly basis.
We have instructed employers to conduct PCR tests on their employees randomly at least weekly. If you are using public transport or traveling by taxis, make note of the vehicles that you use to travel. You can record the number plates of these vehicles vehicles. We have come across instances in which this information is not made available to us while carrying out contact tracing. Stating that you do not remember the vehicle in which you travelled will not be helpful to us. If we can identify the vehicle, we can inform the driver to at least take the relevant precaution while transporting passengers. Some patients have been identified in Colombo. 2,884 PCR tests have been carried out in Colombo during the last 8 days. The main objective of this was to determine whether the virus is being transmitted among the community. However, only 11 of them tested positive for the virus. We have identified the sources from which they had contracted the virus. They had come into contact with the Brandix factory. We conducted 215 PCR tests at the Colombo Fort railway station. We are yet to receive those results. I wish to clearly state that Colombo is not facing a risk pertaining to the transmission of the virus. We had to close down 3 shops in Borella. We conducted PCR tests on them. The results turned out negative.
During the
first wave of the virus, the number of patients increased slowly. We did not experience a massive surge in cases. The number of patients increased at a pace that could be handled by our healthcare system. Now we have seen a massive cluster in Minuwangoda. When a massive cluster is formed, and if it exceeds the capacity of our healthcare system, we might not be able to cope with the situation. The situation might extend beyond our control. It is important to identify these danger zones and impose travel restrictions in those areas.
11
inmates at the old Bogambara prison have been placed in a high security ward for behaving in a violent manner. Commissioner of Prisons Administration and Rehabilitation and Skill Development Chandana Ekanayaka said necessary steps would be taken after producing the inmates to the prison trial at bar. These 11 inmates who were placed in remand for drug abuse and trafficking charges had attempted a prison break from the quarantine facility set up at the old Bogambara prison. They had converted an aluminium plate into a weapon and threatened a police officer present at the time. The prison's officer had tussled with the violent inmates and managed to control the situation together with fellow prison officers. Commissioner of Prisons Administration, Rehabilitation and Skill Development Chandana Ekanayaka said the prison guard involved in the tussle sustained minor injuries. However, he was rushed to hospital where he was administered treatment and released. The Department of Prisons is conducting an internal investigation following the incident. In more headline-making stories, the Bureau of Foreign Employment says that the repatriation of Sri Lankans stranded in the Middle East due to the COVID-19 situation will resume from next month. Mangala Brandeniya, Deputy General Manager and the media spokesperson of the Bureau said that steps will be taken to bring them back to Sri Lanka depending on the availability of quarantine centres in the country. Around 45,000 Sri Lankans are currently stranded in the Middle East. The Deputy General Manager said that 68 expatriates have died due to COVID-19 and Foreign Employment Bureau had taken steps to pay a compensation of 500,000 rupees to their families. Steps have also been taken to improve the welfare of the families of those who died due to the virus. Now, these were the views expressed by the government and the opposition about the 20th Amendment. Several problems have been created in the country by attempting to bring forth the 20th Amendment. As a party, we have opposed the 20th Amendment by pointing out that the democratic framework established by the 19th Amendment that gave top priority to Buddhism must be protected. Several groups are opposing the 20th Amendment. This includes religious leaders, civic groups and other associations as well. We will move forward by joining hands with all of them while opposing the 20th Amendment along with the people.
The 19th Amendment brought about massive damage to the country. It obstructed a ruler from guiding the country forward. The president must be responsible to the people even until a new constitution is introduced. We are introducing the 20th Amendment as a temporary measure to fulfill this responsibility. A good constitution that is suitable for the country will be put forward in due course. We are waiting until it will be presented in near future. Our party is of one stance. 20th Amendment is presented in Parliament. All of us will support it. That is because we must abolish the 19th Amendment.
ආයෝගය ලබා දෙනවා මොකද 19 ඉවත් කරන්න ඕන නිසා.
මේක සම්මත කරගත්තොත් කවදාවත් මේ රටේ ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදී ඉතුරු වෙන්නේ.
Democracy will not prevail in the country if this amendment is passed. This is a bill that will allow one individual to amass massive powers. Everyone is opposing this. Those in the government are also against this. However, due to their greed for power, they are saying that they would not allow the government that they formed to collapse by saying that they are not showing concern towards the country. As a result, they will vote for the amendment by only taking the government into account. This is extremely wrong.
මේක සම්මත වුණොත් ගෑණිත් පිරිමියෙක් කරන්න පුළුවන්. පිරිමියෙකුත් ගෑණියෙක් කරන්න පුළුවන්. මේක තමයි ඇත්ත.
මේ වෙනකොට ත්‍රිනිකායක මහානායක හාමුදුරුවෝ
The chief incumbent priests of the three main sects have requested to avoid bringing this forward. The respectable Theros have realized this situation. Some individuals in power such as Veerwansa have also realized that they are digging their own grave by doing this. Against this backdrop, GLP is saying that a new constitution will be brought forward in 6 months. If that is the case, why are they trying to bring forward an amendment in a hurry? Why is the government acting in a manner that would bring disgrace to them? They can remain patient for 6 months.
එහෙම කටයුතු කරන්න. තාම ආසාවක් ඉවසන්න පුළුවන්.
Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa has instructed an increase in the bursaries awarded to the students of the Tower Hall Drama and Theatre School. Accordingly, the bursaries awarded to the students of the Tower Hall Theatre Foundation will be increased from 2,000 rupees to 3,000 rupees. This decision was made during the 296th meeting of the Tower Hall Theatre Foundation that has been chaired by Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister has also ordered an increase in the cash prize awarded to outstanding students at the Tower Hall Drama and Theatre School from 5,000 rupees to 10,000 rupees. A herd of elephants that encroached the Alahera Bakumona Sirikanduyaya village and caused harm to the lives and property of the villagers were chased away to the Vaskama Reserve yesterday. The operation was carried out by the officers of the Bakumona Kumara Alla Bitu Wildlife Office.
The villagers of Sirikanduyaya were severely disturbed when a herd of elephants invaded their village yesterday morning. The villagers then informed the wildlife officials of the Bakmuna Kumara Alla Bitu office about the incident, and the officers then started their operation to chase away the wild elephants from the village. Our correspondent said there were around 20 elephants in this herd, and the elephants encroached the village from the Vaskamo Reserve. After a few hours into the operation, wildlife officials were able to chase away 8 wild elephants back to the Vaskamo Reserve. According to our correspondent, the operation to chase away the remaining herd lasted for about 11 hours. By yesterday afternoon, the herd of wild elephants had been chased away to the reserve.
Lunchtime news here on TV1. For more news, log on to our award-winning website, that is www.newsfirst.lk. For